When the courts get to review non-competes, there's a couple of things that are buried in that process. The first is there's generally a clause that says you can go out and get a temporary restraining order or an injunction to stop somebody from competing with you. That's something that isn't generally available in a private contract situation. The courts aren't going to start issuing orders and rulings until there's been due process, and they look to the four corners of the contract, they see what the deal was, and they enforce that contract. But here, you can start enforcement of the contract before you have a legally recognized breach, and that can be issued without you being even aware that they've gone to the courthouse, because you've given written permission for them to do that. And so, it has that power of injunctive relief. You also wind up with the fact that if you have a non-compete like this and the subsequent employer is aware you had a non-compete and decides that they just are willing to take that risk or ignore that risk, that subsequent employer could become liable for employing somebody knowing that they are interfering with the contract rights of employer number one. So it breaks out in those sort of elements that makes it important to understand the full scope of what a non-compete may do. Then finally, when the courts look at non-compete, they have these public policy reasons why they could void the whole clause, which would be a very unusual thing to do, but they can also tailor the non-compete. So say litigation is about this small community and there's a physician and a midwife, and that's about all the OB services that are available in that area of the state. What the court may do is to limit either the scope of the practice or any of those other elements, including the geographic scope. So you can take north side of town, I'll give her south side of town, or something along those lines. The physician can have all the in-hospital births, and the midwife is going to have to deal with creating a birth center or home births or whatever the facts line up for, and of course it flavored the taste for the judge. We often say in law, when people ask us what's going to happen in court, it depends on what the judge had for breakfast that morning, because you get a variance when you surrender the responsibility of making your own decisions and ask somebody else to make them for you.